Prentice Penny is a writer and producer responsible for such beloved shows as Girlfriends, Happy Endings, and as well as his work producing HBO's Insecure. He now makes his feature film debut as writer and director of Uncorked, which tells the story of a young man who is trying to balance his parents' expectations with his own dreams of working in the wine industry. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm on the couch. All right. This is Ronald, and I am on the couch after just watching Uncorked, which is a movie on Netflix. Uncorked, director Prentice Penny, writer Prentice Penny, starring Mamadou Athie, Courtney B. Vance, Niecy Nash, Matt McGorry, Sasha Compere, Gil Ozeri, Kelly Jenrette, Bernard David Jones, Melisia Lomax, Meera Rohit Kumbhani, Matthew Glave, and Princeton James. Try not to butcher names on this show. So Uncorked. Uncorked is a movie about a man named Elijah. That's Mamadou Athie. And he is working in the wine industry as well as at his father's barbecue restaurant. His father played by Courtney B. Vance, and his mother is Niecy Nash. And this movie really speaks to the conflict between what it is that Elijah wants to do with his life, which is to become a master sommelier. Over the course of time, it's revealed early in the movie that Elijah has some issues with committing to what it is he wants to do. And his father is putting pressure on him to run the barbecue business. And the rest of the movie kind of unfolds from there. So this movie, I liked it. I liked it a lot. With that being said, I'm going to talk about some good things and some not so good things about it. The good things are, it's a very black movie. As soon as it comes on, you can tell that Prentice Penny is a part of this. Prentice Penny is also the showrunner for HBO's Insecure, which is created by Issa Rae and Larry Wilmore. Insecure is a fantastic show, a fantastically black show, but also just a fantastic television show. And I've always enjoyed watching it because it allows me to look at black folks, not in the way that we're most commonly depicted on television. And I think this movie does a lot of that same thing, where it's depicting the same relationships and the same dynamics that exist between black families and black folks, navigating both in worlds of blackness and even when they try to step into worlds that are not so black. And in this case, the central conflict is that between Elijah and his father wanting him to run the barbecue joint. Elijah wanted to do something else. And I thought they did a very good job of depicting that relationship without making it, it's the acting. They did a very good job of not making it just kind of like just some like lingering argument. They really made it about deep-seated issues between two three-dimensional characters. This movie does a very good job of character development of these two characters in particular. Now, everyone else around them, I think they probably could have done a better job. But these two, the father and the son, I think Courtney B. Vance and Mamadou Athie did a great job of acting out Very complex feelings between the two of them. These are two people that love each other, but want to do what they want to do. And one is trying to do what he wants to do while not disappointing his father, while trying to still live up to his father's expectations. This movie does a very good job of depicting that relationship. And honestly, a lot of that is why I liked this movie so much. As the movie went on, there were some problems that came, but one thing that never went away was that I realized that the acting really holds up in this movie. So if you just watch this movie for the performances, you will not be disappointed. It's a fantastic movie. Again, I think they did a lot of creating worlds of blackness without it being caricatures. You know, there's other filmmakers and other creators out there who lean heavily into the caricature, the stereotypical side of blackness, where those elements are here, but they're presented in a way that doesn't just make it so cartoonish that we're just kind of, you know, laughing at the buffoon or anything like that. It feels presented in a way that, and you could tell it's the expert hand of Prentice who's doing this with Insecure, where there's these little things that we call ratchet around the edges where you see it, but it's not something that takes up, it's not something where everyone's buying into it. It's a part of a world. It's like just one aspect of a much larger world, and it's not presented in a way that's only to make us laugh at it, but part of it as a part of it that's part of this greater thing, which I really appreciate. I think it does a good job of talking about what happens when working class parents prop up the dreams of newly middle class kids. So, you know, as somebody who's from that same type of environment, I have two parents, both working class, and their son, both parents were military. Me growing up, thought I was going to go to the military, but then decided I wanted to do something else. And navigating the line between not wanting to disappoint your parents, but also having very different dreams from your parents because of your parents. And this movie has a lot of that, where you see that the barbecue restaurant that they're running is doing well. It's popular, and because of that, you know, they've been able to build a good life for Elijah and his sister, who is also a character in the movie. And then these are two grown adult children who are well adjusted to life and all that. Albeit they play up that Elijah has had some indecisiveness about his career in the past. So that's part of why his father doesn't really support this. But that being said, being able to relate to that aspect of the story, having, you know, working class parents prop up a dream that is unlike their own, but it's because of them. It's because they've worked so hard that your kids have had the opportunity to dream of something different than what you dreamed of, which is kind of like it's the struggle that we have with our parents, which is like your parents always want you to do more than them. But when the more than them comes around, sometimes it's like, wait, I meant, you know, what our parents want for us and what we want for ourselves often don't fall in alignment. This movie does a very good job of that, of hammering that point home, of talking about the idea of a parent not accepting a child's decision, disappointing the expectations. It's just great in those aspects. The way it looks, the cinematography is fantastic. Even things like filming people's hands, filming people's faces, all of those. There's just a lot of just very beautifully shot things in this movie. I'm sitting there watching and I was like, wow. And I know this movie didn't have a crazy big budget. So watching, I was just like, this is surprising that they did such a good job of, you know, making it look pretty, it just looks pretty. And especially for me to be sitting on the couch, I'm just like, wow, this is a gorgeous movie. And I found myself drawn in the entire time. Now, the problems of the movie are all having to do with the plot and the flow. For me, it had very weird pacing. There were strange plot developments that had an effect on the plot, but also didn't necessarily push the plot forward as much as I thought they did. And that made the movie feel a little disjointed. There's a couple of things that happen about maybe halfway or a little past halfway through the movie that you think are going to go in one direction, but they don't, which I guess would have made it predictable in that way, but it kind of made it unpredictable in a bad way. When we get to the end of the movie, you know, I kind of understood what message the movie was trying to convey, and I very much understand that. But there was sometimes watching where I was like, I think you could have gotten there in a different way. Like this could have been this was a very small movie. It didn't feel like it was like, you know, reaching past much of, like I said, like the essential conflict between Elijah and his father. But there was, by the time it got to the end, there was just several things that happened where I was just like, this isn't working for me in terms of the story that's being told. Now, again, despite all that, I'm still watching because the performances are so good, because these actors did a very good job of playing out the roles. So I'm very interested in what they're doing. And they did a good job of the character development. I believed in these characters. I believed in the interactions they were having with each other, especially again with the father and son. But it's almost like there was so much development between the father and the son that and you know, to an extent, Niecy Nash, there was development there as well, and even a little bit with the girlfriend. But I think there could have been more, because I feel like Niecy Nash and the actress who plays Elijah's girlfriend, I think they were not given. I think they were relegated to specific roles that that Black women are often relegated to in movies like this. And it wasn't stereotypical or anything, but it was very much supportive roles. And it kind of made me feel like they could have been fleshed out a little bit more as well, rather than kind of introducing these characters to kind of just be, you know, the voice of reason and or the crutch for the main characters. And I felt like that's kind of what it felt more like that. And it wasn't, I really enjoyed those characters, and I would have loved to have seen them rounded out a little bit more. That being said, I feel like the biggest part of this movie for me was that, one of the bigger drawbacks of this movie was that I think that it could have benefited from more editing. There were several scenes in here that just ran too long. And I feel like that's kind of a theme with Netflix, which is that you don't really have to worry about how long a movie runs. They're sitting on the couch. They'll pause it if it's too long, you know? So I think a lot of creators that come to Netflix come here without really being worried about how well the movie is going to do or how well the audience is going to receive the movie sitting in a theater, where you kind of have to be a little more cognizant of how long a film is running. Whereas with this, people are sitting on the couch. Like I said, they can stop it, they're eating snacks, whatever. So you can extend things a little longer. But, you know, I was watching this movie and there was a couple times where I was like, this scene is just going too long. Like, I don't need to see this. And you could tell it came down to maybe a joke that the director or editor didn't want to lose. Maybe just something that they were attached to that wasn't necessarily servicing the plot or the story that much. So I think that hurt this movie a little bit too. That being said, I enjoyed this movie. I don't know how much I'll think about it going forward, but I certainly will be on the lookout for Mamadou Athie in the future. He's been in several other things. One thing I saw him in most recently was a little show called Oh Jerome No, which is on Hulu, and it's about the same guy who's apparently too emotional in his dating life. But it was very good to watch, and watching him, he does a very good job acting. He dives in no matter what role he's playing, which I think that's important when it comes to acting. And you could tell that there's a versatility that comes with him that I think is very important. Courtney B. Vance, great job. Niecy Nash, great job. The acting was fantastic. With all of that in mind, I think, again, it's on Netflix. All you have to do is go find it and press play. If you're not doing anything, if you're sitting down, if you enjoy wine, this movie goes deep into wine. Maybe crack open a bottle, hang out on your couch, and watch this. It's very, not... The stakes aren't super high, but emotionally you'll definitely feel something about this movie. So I would give it 3 stars. I think it was straight down the middle. I think it was a 3-star movie that could have been a 4-star movie. And it also could have been a 2-star movie, but the acting was fantastic. So if anything, I'd say 4-star acting, 2-star writing and story, or plot, writing and plot, and brings it up to a 3-star movie. So yeah. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of ohitsBigRon Studios. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. To find out more about this show and other ohitsBigRon Studios shows, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ohitsBigRon. That's at ohitsBigron. If you like this show, check out our sister show, Time Well Spent. Leaving the Theater will be back soon, but until then, I'll be here on the couch.